How you doing? It's the Butcher here, and today I have another build for you going into Season 3, which is starting tomorrow. This was a build I really was looking at trying, and full disclosure up front, I don't think it's going to be as good as the first build I posted for Season 3, which was the Poison Penetrating Shot Rapid Fire Rogue, but this is actually going to be a cold version utilizing the cold imbuement, and I think this could be quite good. I think it might fall off a little bit at the end when compared to the poison version just because of the lack of sheer damage output. Although, with the lack of hard endgame and the real endgame being more about speed clearing for the gauntlet, it looks like, there's a chance this could be maybe just as good, if not better. But I think it's going to be really fun and really good, and probably really the first time we're going to get to really utilize this to the fullest extent, I think, because of the changes to precision, specifically the key passive. So first things first, I have it again in D4 build, so you guys will be able to see all this good stuff. Same thing kind of applies for leveling up in the beginning. I would still go with Shadow Imbuement. It just creates a big explosion. I think it's the best for leveling up, but once you get a little later in the game, this would be my suggestion. And what I'm going to try both the Poison and the Cold Imbued Rogue, and I think this should both be pretty fun to play. But it's going to be Penetrating Shot Rapid Fire build again. It's going to be very similar to the last one, just utilizing different key passive and cold imbuement, and you'll see how we get this thing to work. So we have Puncture into Fundamental, pretty classic. We have Rapid Fire, and this time we're actually going to be taking Advanced since we're going to be using a lot of critical strike damage. And even with the nerfs to crit damage, I think we might be able to stack it ridiculously high on this to a point where it's still doing a ton of damage. As you'll see, but this is 30% multiplicative critical strike damage for 5 seconds after you evade, which is pretty nutty. So then we're taking Penetrating Shot, and we're again, so this is going to give us a more critical strike chance, which is going to get big. I believe this was actually changed. And then again, we're going to be taking Improve for the extra damage, and we're also going to be taking Sturdy here as well for some more DR. That's actually something I thought about dropping, and if you were to drop that, if you felt like you had enough DR, I unfortunately had to take away the movement speed from the Dark Shroud because we're still using Umbrus, but that's where I would put that. But I'm going to keep it in Sturdy for now. We'll see as time goes on if I want to make any changes. So we're taking Shadow Step, and we are taking this into Discipline since I'm not using the aspect that gives me 2 charges. I want to make sure I have this up pretty much all the time so I don't get CC'd. You're going to see what boots we're going to be using. It's probably pretty obvious since we're using Cold Imbuement, but Weapon Master, taking 3 into that, and we're taking we're going to be using a regular bow, so we're getting 12% multiplicative damage to vulnerable enemies, and we're going to be making them vulnerable. We are going to, so I don't have a Paragon board for this one either yet, like I said. I'm going to fill that out as time goes on and probably have them up before the season, at least preliminary ones for the first few boards, but we can be getting vulnerable through both Exploit in here, and then Puncture is a very, very good way to make enemies vulnerable. And this is really more helpful than anything against bosses, honestly. We just have 1 point to dash just to get it. We have Concussive, 3 points into that because we are going to have a way to daze enemies that you'll see. Then we have 1 point into Trick Attack, so when they are dazed, they can be knocked down. And then we have 1 point into Rapid Gambit, so we can get our cooldown back up. So over here, you're going to see this is a little bit interesting. So we're taking Smoke Grenade. We're not actually going to be using it. And we're taking that into Subverting because we're going to get the daze, we're going to get it for longer, and if the enemy is vulnerable, slowed, or chilled, we're going to daze up for even longer so we can constantly have this going with huge crit chance. And I also really like the 25% increased damage. I was using Smoke Grenade on my Rogue last season. It's quite good, but we're not going to have this on our skill bar. We're actually going to cast it through an aspect. So we're getting both of these basically through aspects, which is pretty interesting. So we're actually using basically, 8 skills in a way. Just one thing I want to make sure. Okay, sorry. And then down here, we're taking Exploit. We're not going to take Malice. We're just a little bit strapped for points, unfortunately. Going to take 3 into Precision Imbuement. We're taking 5 into Cold Imbuement. This is a little bit interesting. I don't know how much we're actually going to need to have to put into Cold Imbuement, especially if you want to get ranks on our helmet or things like that. So this chills for 45% per hit, and then we have the further increase of chill effect, and there's also a Paragon glyph that can give us even more chill, so we might be able to take some points actually out of here, even though it's going to be our Imbuement that we're using, which is interesting. Then we're going to get Enhanced here, so this is another way that we'll be able to make enemies vulnerable. through lucky hit, 40% chance, so pretty high on that. And then we're taking mix here, so cold imbue skills deal 20% damage to crowd control enemies, double this bonus against frozen enemies. So this is pretty big if we hit 20% against frozen, and then if we're hitting, or 20% crowd controlled, which we're going to be using shared misery, so we're constantly spreading this slow around to anything, so we should always basically get that 20% for the most part. And then if they do happen to be frozen, we're getting a huge 40 times, this is multiplicative by the way, I don't know why it doesn't say it there, damage to frozen enemies, which is nuts. So then we're taking Frigid Finesse. This did get nerfed. It used to be 30 and 60. Now it's 15 and 30. That's still very nice. And then we are taking Chilling Weight. So we're going to increase this chill effect. We want to freeze as many enemies as possible. We want to use Shared Misery on those. If things are frozen, they can't attack us is basically the idea. Then down here, we're actually only taking points into Intervention to keep our energy up. And then we are taking Precision as our key passive, and this was changed in the most recent patch to be much better. Each marksman skill cast grants 1 stack of precision, 2 for critical strikes. We're gonna have huge crit chance. When you reach 6 stacks, your next marksman core or ultimate skill, so no longer do you have to worry about that being your puncture. It'll always either be your rapid fire or penetrating shot, depending on what you're using at the time. Is guaranteed, and we're not using ultimates, so we don't have to worry about that. It's guaranteed to critically strike, which is great, and it's going to deal 50 times multiplicative critical strike damage, consuming all stacks of precision. This damage is further increased by an equal amount to 15% of your critical strike damage bonus. So we can get this number to be massive. So that is the skill tree that I've come up with. Obviously, could be tweaks later on, but let's move from here into the gear. So I do have 2 uniques on here. I know someone mentioned in my last video about like not having uniques right away. All the uniques for my other builds, the other one's a little bit tougher because we really do want that, what's the X-Files ring, but you should be able to breeze. The leveling content is so easy that it shouldn't matter too much for that, and then once we do get it, it'll just be a bonus damage for endgame stuff. And for this, Penitent Greaves is going to be good for the chill, and the more damage specifically it does to chill, but again, not totally necessary. Same thing with Sky Hunter. It's just going to do even more for precision, but we can just use it a regular bow or crossbow and we'll be just fine. So that's it on that front as far as just addressing the uniques. And there's so much target farming now, to actually get these should be quite easy. I forget which bosses they drop from, but we'll be able to get these no problem. And let's get into the actual gear itself. I guess I want to actually start with the construct stones for this one, because we're doing something quite a bit different. So since we have no form of healing, one of the main reasons I was using the vulnerability, the victimize key passive on my other character was in order to get healing, because I really don't like having a build that has no form of healing. Feels like a very easy way to get yourself killed in higher level content. So I do like some form of healing. So that was the main reason I was taking that, because there really wasn't anything else worth it. However, this build we obviously want to utilize precision, so we have to find another form of healing, especially since the rogue is a squishier character. So we are going to be taking Reconstruct. So this is the one that channels a beam that heals us for a portion of our max life over time. We're going to be taking the duration support, so it lasts longer. We're going to be taking the tactical support, so the cooldown of this is less. And basically the idea behind both of these is to keep this up as much as possible. And then I'm also taking Seeking here. So this is the one that will most likely be the one getting changed. So this says supported projectile skills will auto-seek enemies for a limited duration. What I'm hoping this does is it makes this auto-seek us. So I'm not exactly sure how this is going to work. I think it's just going to shoot out a beam and we have to stand in it. What I'm hoping this does is it makes it auto-seek us. We'll have to see if this doesn't work. There's a lot of other good options that you can take. You could take something like, well, that's the God one. So you have to just take something that's not damage-wise. So it could be something like launching additional projectiles would be good, because then we'd have more beams. We can't take that because of damage. But I think you get the idea. I hope so. So effect size, this could be a good one as well too, something like that. Anyway, that's the idea. So behind construction, if this doesn't work, we'll take one of those other ones that basically gives us the best chance to be healing all the time. So then our second one, we're still going to want Tempest because this seems very good. However, we're going to take Devastation. So supported skills gain a critical strike damage bonus. And then we're also going to take Efficiency, which gives us the supported skill 15% critical strike damage to the same target hit for 3 seconds. Because our crit's going to scale so high, and this is going to scale with our crit, our little robot guy, I think taking crit on here is going to be very nice. And then I have arching again, and this is what I said the last time. We're not actually sure if this is going to work with Tempest. I'm actually able to get it to go to different enemies. If not, I will take the one that's like the Barber Heart, which is... Give me one sec. It is registered. Yes, it is this one. If not, I will take this one. But we want to stack that crit because we are going to be stacking our crit in this build. It's going to be a crit-based build. So anyway, here's what we're going to be looking at. So on our helmet, we're using Umbrus again because it's just great, and we want to get that Dark Shot for more DR. And we're going to want to take total armor. We need cooldown now because the way we're going to reset this is just through cooldown. Unfortunately, there's not something like the Pestilent Points and the Bursting Venoms that allows us to reset our poison imbuement. We can't really do that with cold. What that does allow us, though, is to take some other aspects that we couldn't take before. We want basic skill attack speed, and then I have ranks of cold imbuement. This could end up being unnecessary. This could just end up being max life. We'll have to see, like I said, have to see how much chill it actually does, how much I feel like I need, etc. So that's it for the helmet. For the chest here, this is actually how we're getting our smoke grenade. So we're going to automatically drop a smoke grenade at the end of dash, and we're going to get those benefits from the smoke grenade, and then we're also going to be able to reduce Dash's cooldown so we can constantly keep dropping the smoke grenades, etc. And on this, just your basic total armor and DR. So the gloves, we want penetrating shot, rapid fire, crit strike chance, and attack speed. And then the shared misery on here is going to be great. We're going to be spreading slow around, we're going to be spreading chill around, we're going to be spreading freeze around. It's going to be pretty nuts. Like I said, with this and everything else, I'm not even sure if we'll need the ranks of cold imbuement or even all the ranks of the cold imbuement into our skill tree. All 5 points right here. I'm not sure if I actually even need that because we're going to be spreading around the cold so much. Pants, aspects of might. I think I've mentioned this before. The ultimate goal would be to get a Shaco on here. So what we would do is we would drop the might because we're getting that 20% DR. And we would have our Shaco on, which basically has all the same stuff except it has max life. And does not have total armor. It has cooldown, max life, also. So we're getting ranks through all of our skills, not just cold imbuement, and it has all stats. So unfortunately, we lose a little bit of attack speed there. And with that, for sure, when I get to it, I'll mention which one I would drop because there is definitely something I would do because I'm unsure on that anyway. Boots here, Penitent Greaves, for obvious reasons, since we're utilizing cold. We're doing more damage to chilled enemies and we're applying more chilled. It has movement speed, crowd control duration, which is actually good for this build. Slow duration reduction, which is whatever, and has cold resistance. So we won't be able to triple stack that the resistances. So we're going to have to build that out through our jewelry and our Paragon board. So then we have Sky Hunter here. And this was also changed to become much better. So this is the unique bow. And this gives us, first of all, damage to distant enemies, like all bows do. Gives us dexterity, which is great. I think it rolls up to 104, if I'm not mistaken. Marksman skill damage, we're using marksman skills, good. Crit strike damage, which is great for us. And then ranks of the exploit passive, which is very good. That's multiplicative damage to healthy and injured enemies. And the changes now, so it's the first damage you deal to an enemy is a guaranteed critical strike. When you consume precision casting a skill, that skill gains up to 30% increased critical strike damage, and you gain up to 40 energy. So the second part is really the big part. We should be able to stack so much crit with this. It should be pretty insane. We'll have to see how much it's going to matter when the season comes out compared to other things. Like we'll see how it works compared to the damage over time with poison and whatnot, and what tends to be better. But that is a huge change and makes this thing actually useful. Before, all these unique bows weren't useful. Now the one for penetrating shot is, and this one is. This one's probably the best one now, as long as you're using the precision key passive. The other one that knocks him back is still pretty crappy, not gonna lie. So our amulet, we have accelerating on here to gain the extra bonus to that. We have energy cost reduction, movement speed, ranks to the frigid finesse, and cooldown is what we're looking for. Then over here, like I said, we're able to open up some more things. So one of the things we're going to be able to open up is a spot for aspect of the elements. And this is very good. This is something people are snapshotting all the time. But for every 7 seconds, we gain, it alternates between fire, lightning, and physical, and cold, poison, and shadow. So we are using both cold and physical. So we'll be able to have this up all the time, and it's 30% multiplicative, which is very nice. So throwing that on there is super nice, like I said. And then on our rings, we are going to want crit. This is for both range: crit strike chance, crit strike damage, lucky hit chance, max life. We're using the trick shot, obviously, for the penetrating shot on the other ring, and this will allow it to fire 2 additional arrows and bounce all around and spread a bunch of chill and do some good stuff. And so now, since we don't have to use pestilent points or bursting venoms, we have some other things here. I opted for Edge Masters. I think it's going to be a good one for sure. And then on bolt daggers, I should mention we want dexterity, all stats, crit strike damage, and core skill. And over here, I have corruption. So this is not going to make it actually do more damage. And now that I think about it, I have this on here. So what I believe what this is going to do, and I haven't actually tested this completely, and that's why I'm not sure about it, is I think what it's going to do is apply more chill against formidable enemies. I don't think it's actually going to do more damage. I could be wrong about that. If you know, please let me know in the comments. So it's kind of between that or rocking with this one right here for more attack speed, or this was actually the other one just for more damage. But for sure, if we were to get a Shaco, I think I would for sure drop it for the attack speed to basic attacks. Would be my thing. So I'm not, this one is the most up in the air. But really anything to increase damage or even attack speed would be great on this. And finally for the gems, or actually I should mention first, so the specialization, we're actually going to use Inner Sight. I don't think combo points are going to help us as much. They are nice for like rapid fire. You deal, you get extra arrows and things like that. But I think Inner Sight, just being able to spam out so much damage, is actually going to be more beneficial. This could go back to combo points. We'll see. But for this, we actually gain Lucky Hit Chance. And Lucky Hit Chance is still good for this, but not nearly as important as it is for our Poison build. So I think for now, I'm going to try to rock out with Inner Sight. We'll see. And then the gems here, we're actually going to take Sapphire. We're going to take a critical strike, increase critical strike damage to crowd-controlled enemies, because this should be very consistent. You could also, the other one you would opt for would be this right here, the Emeralds, but I think the Sapphires will be a little bit better. You could, if we really want more healing, honestly, you could even go for some Skulls, potentially, if you really wanted. The rest of them don't really make sense. Rubies in the armor, and then jewelry, like I said, we'll have to figure out our resistances, so this will just be whatever we need to get it capped. And right now we should be good on armor, but like I mentioned, we will have to throw in Disobedience if we do want to go for a Shaco unique helmet. So that is what the build looks like, and I have it, so I have in-game right here. So I have it just set up briefly. This is this is the same character I used in my last video. So I have nothing set up properly. You can see like we're not even using combo points, so this makes no sense. This is just in the Eternal Realm, and look how low the item levels are and all this, because it was before there was 925 gear. It's when the cap was 825. So we do have some things like Shared Misery, which is good. I did throw on the Quickening Fog on the helmet there. We do have a pair of Penitent Greaves, but yeah, like some of this makes no sense. But yeah, just wanted to kind of show off how it works. And this is just a regular dungeon, but like I mentioned, we are actually not geared up like properly at all. So the biggest thing will be getting cooldown reduction too, because I don't think I have any of it in this build actually. And unfortunately, like I said, we really need the cooldown reduction because we don't have a way like we do with what's it called? Poison Imbue to get it back besides cooldown reduction. So the good thing is, over here, the good thing, what we're getting, well, you can see one, we have no way, we're just stagnant on healing. We are a little bit slow, and look at our paragon board makes no sense because we're not even using a cutthroat skill. The good thing for this build, though, is, so when I drop the smoke grenade, I daze them, and it dazes them for a while, and what I can do, since I have shared misery on, is I can easily get out of there and just absolutely daze everything and get all those bonuses from that. So that is great, and that's why we want to use a smoke grenade. The only thing is, like there, if you just kind of come out of like a fight, you obviously won't get the benefit for that. But we should have it up a decent amount with the amount of cooldown reduction we want to get into this build, and also with the, what's it called? The amount of cooldown reduction, and with it actually decreasing our cooldown when we go through enemies, or when we drop the, what's it called? Jesus Christ, when we drop the smoke grenade. So you can see, I mean, we can basically freeze everything, and then, unfortunately, so this should come back up around, right now it's 12 seconds, it should come back, if we get good cooldown on our items, it should come back around like 9 point something seconds. So we should have it up a decent amount. If there was a way that we could reset it, I think it would be even better. And you can see, honestly, we're doing no damage because our gear is so bad. But, I mean, I think this build is going to be solid. Like I said, don't get it mistaken. I did want to say at the very beginning, I don't think it's better than the poison build. I think that damage over time is just nutty. But to just blast through everything, this could be very, very good. And then we should, I mean, I can obviously heal myself, but we should get a decent amount of healing from that construct thing. So that should be nice. And then it should, since we're scaling our crits so much, and again, that's another thing. So these changes actually haven't been made. So I'm not taking advantage of precision at all. You can see this is the old precision. So it used to have to be a crit strike, and then you would gain 4% increased critical strike damage per stack up to a maximum of 20. Then when you reach your full, you dealt 40, and that would consume all of it. So there's actually no way to increase it, which now we're going to be able to increase it based on our critical strike damage. And this build also, I don't even have any crit anywhere. I have ranks of twisting blades. Do you have critical strike damage? There's chance. No, so I literally have like no. Do I literally have 0? Like I said, this character's a mess. So our chance. So our damage is like 98%, so it's like nothing. But I just wanted to give you an idea of the way it works. I actually haven't used Inner Sight in a really long time, so I'm not used to actually hard focusing and getting this up where we can just spam. And I think it'll be great against bosses too. When we can spam, you do want to make sure you're evading every 5 seconds to get this. Well, I actually didn't change that in here. Not that it really matters, not that I'm actually using this character. But evading every 5 seconds, and then once you get that up against bosses and you're able to just spam it at them, you should be able to do a ton of crit damage, like an absolute ton. So, and you can see, like I said, I just kind of theory crafted this build, but one thing, if you are good, you will be able to use that smoke grenade to your advantage. Like I said, especially against bosses too, where when they're hit by the smoke grenade, you do huge amounts of extra damage. But you can see with the shared misery, and this is not optimally set up, how much we're able to spread around that that cold imbue and that freeze between our boots here and our actual cold imbuement itself. So once we stack this with crit, I think it's going to be very good. You can see we can daze, and then we can hit the daze and whatnot, yada yada. But that is the build, so that's what I came up with. I will be very interested to try this build out. I'll say it one last time before ending it. I don't think this is going to be better than my Poison Imbue one. I just think Poison Imbue is the strongest imbuement. And maybe if it was pre-nerfing of crit and we got this precision, it would be absolutely wild. With the way it stands now, I think this will be very solid. Maybe it ends up being better. You never know. But I still think the Poison Imbue at the moment is going to be better. So that is the build. I hope you guys enjoyed. Give you a couple options if you want to play a rogue like I am starting out Season 3. I think Penetrating Shot Rapid Fire, I think it's going to be up there for one of the best builds in the game. I see a lot of people putting rogue a little bit down. I think people are sleeping on the dot damage not getting touched because damage over time was already going crazy. So I actually think I don't see a lot of people putting in S tier, but I think penetrating shot / rapid fire builds are going to be, probably most likely the poison one, are going to be S tier alongside like your barb builds. I mean, honestly, mainly just your barb builds. I think this will be one of the top 5 builds in the game for sure. So anyway, that is my guide for my cold imbued rogue, and I will have the build guide in the description, and I will be making changes to it as the season goes on, as I get a chance to play it more. So I hope you guys enjoy, and I will be back live streaming tomorrow when the season releases at 1 p.m. Eastern time. So I hope to see some of you guys there. Thanks, and have a good one.